Hi everyone, Queeveen here from the comfort of my kitchen. In today's video, we are taking a look just a few days into the future and further ahead into the coming month of December. To start with, we can already see that the sun is nice and low in the sky here in Ireland. Once we get just to the 1st of December, we can see the sunrise over here is just 8:19, 20 past 8, and the sunset will be just 4:26, so pretty much 25 past 4. Of course, we can see that the sky is still bright. Here we are just at sunrise. The sky is already plenty bright once the sun is actually rising. The light of the sun will start coming over the horizon for quite a bit before. So here we go with sunrise early in December. We can see, although it might be a little bit difficult to see, there are times for twilight here as well. So we can see a twilight time there of 22:08, but here we are at just, well, we'll go back a little bit more to just 10 past 7 or even 7 o'clock. We'll say 10 past 7. Even at 10 past 7, there is still definitely light from the sun in the sky. We can see Mercury here. Mercury is coming up to its greatest elongation on the 7th of December. We can see Mercury kind of curving around here. So even though it's at its greatest elongation on the 7th, even around the 5th might be a little bit better for us to see it here in Ireland. Venus, on the other hand, is getting very difficult to see and won't really be visible for the majority of this month. We will head around to sunset yet again. We can see the moon here nice and high in the sky once we're through to the 5th. The 5th is the date of the full moon. The moon here is at 99.8% full, so this is the full moon that we're getting. 99.8% is the fullest that we're going to see the moon here in Ireland. But as we move through the night, we can see that it is very, very close to us. So for us here in Ireland, a helpful commenter did mention that just after midnight is when it will be at its closest this time for this supermoon, and that does seem to be the case. Here we are at just around midnight, and we're seeing it at just 351,000 and change kilometers away from us. So this supermoon is the third supermoon in a row this year, and the last one for this year. Supermoons always come sort of in a row when the moon is at its closest to us at perigee, when it's full. If it is at its closest to us for a given full moon, then it will still be pretty close to its closest to us for adjacent full moons that are near to this full moon. So here we are for the full moon this month, just 351,000 kilometers away. If we go all the way back to the previous full moon and just around the new moon, we can see here for the new moon last month, we're seeing the moon at 412,000 kilometers away and change. So at its furthest distance from us, if we keep going all the way back to the previous full moon, here we are at 352,000. So only a difference of 1,000 kilometers, which of course for the moon isn't particularly much, given that its range here from one extreme to the other is closer to 50,000 kilometers. So that's our full moon, our supermoon. We will have a supermoon in January as well, but as we just saw, this supermoon is a little bit more super than the last supermoon we saw, and it's just about as close as the moon can get at 350,000 kilometers away. That's on the 5th. If we come back to the 4th, we can see here just about midnight the moon is very, very close to the Pleiades in the sky. If we move forward in time, the Pleiades are going to be a little bit tricky to see. We can definitely see their brightest members here, but with the light of the very nearly full moon at 98.6% full, they are going to be a little bit obscured by the proximity of the moon. But here we go, an occultation of the Pleiades by the moon. Pretty much, at least. We can see that the moon is definitely in front of the Pleiades. It's definitely occulting some of them, but because the Pleiades do occupy an area of the sky themselves, you can see the Pleiades span more of the sky than the diameter of the full moon. Even when it's a supermoon, or pretty much a supermoon, we can see that it's still very, very close to us here. But the moon is definitely occulting parts of the Pleiades there, starting at, I guess, around 3 o'clock in the morning, and then really around 4 o'clock the moon will be in front of the majority of the Pleiades, and then moving off as we come up to sunrise, up to about 5 o'clock in the morning there. Of course, the sky is still going to be perfectly dark at 5 o'clock. Oh, we'll bring back our atmosphere and everything. Still perfectly dark at 5 o'clock. The atmosphere being taken away, yep, would have made it much easier to see the Pleiades, as would being in the countryside. Fighting with the light of the moon and the light of light pollution is going to make those things a little bit more difficult to see. So we'll head out to the countryside, and that gives us back a reasonably nice view of the Pleiades. So that is one of the lunar occultations that is happening this month. If we turn around just a little bit and move further forward into the month, we'll see the moon coming past Pollux and Jupiter there, coming up to Regulus here on the 10th of December. So we're still looking at 4:30 in the morning. This is very early in the morning. So this occultation is likely to happen for us here in Ireland as the sun is rising, or at least pretty close to sunrise. But this is a very good occultation. So we can see that Regulus is really going right through, right behind almost the center of the moon here. If we zoom in a little bit more, really nice bright blue star Regulus, completely going behind the moon. And because we're seeing the moon here past full, it happens just as the sun rises, but Regulus appears from behind the darker portion of the moon, the nighttime portion of the moon. So it's like Regulus is appearing out of nothing, out of what seems to be empty space. Of course, it is the moon is a ball, so even the parts that we cannot see are there. I do think it looks a little bit cooler when the moon occults things with its dark limb, which happens before the moon is full, because this is the direction that the moon moves through the sky. But seeing this as well with Regulus appearing out the back is pretty impressive. So this is happening just as the sun rises. We can see it starting here just about 7:15, so just as light would be starting to come into the sky, and then finishing off there at just 8:22, so just about the time that sunrise would be once we're through to the 10th of December. The moon, of course, will continue moving down in that direction, passing by Mercury, which will be quite a bit past its greatest elongation, by the time we're through to the 18th there, with the moon pretty close to Mercury. Because its greatest elongation is the 7th, and because Mercury orbits the sun so quickly, its position is going to change pretty quickly as well. So we'll move back closer to the beginning of the night again. We can see the same similar constellations to what we were seeing in September. Definitely from out here in the countryside, we'll see them quite early. We'll move forward a little bit later, just coming up to the solstice, and we will come back into the city just to show a more accessible version of how the sky will appear. So we'll come right back, and here we are, just after 5 o'clock. And we've got some of the brighter objects in the sky. The brighter objects that are up at this time are already visible. So we've still got the summer triangle already over towards the sunset as the sun is setting. We've got Saturn really nice and high. Saturn is going to be coming to its highest point in the sky directly above the south quite early in the evening. We can see that here for just 6:15. That's going to put Saturn in pretty much the best place to observe it reasonably early in the evening, which is nice. We've got the pentagon of Auriga and the bright star Capella up as well. Capella is another star that will come out just as the sun is setting. Turning around to the north, the Plough is pretty much directly under the North Star, and we have Cassiopeia nice and high almost at the zenith. The square of Pegasus is up in the south once we're through to, again, just 6:15, so barely nighttime. This is now, looking at the 21st, we're pretty much on the longest night of the year, the midwinter solstice. Of course, we really talk about the midwinter solstice as the day. Just through here at 9:30, we've got Perseus right above the south. So of course, in the real sky, all of these things would seem much, much bigger. So that would make Perseus seem pretty much like it's at the zenith, leaning straight back to see it. We can see the Pleiades there as well. And all of this is visible at just 9:30. So we've got the square of Pegasus, Andromeda, Perseus. We've got Gemini and Orion over here. Of course, the Geminids, which I mentioned in the previous video, they're peaking back on the 13th, 14th of December. They're pretty much the best meteor shower of the year, and we can see them radiating from Gemini. But do check out the previous video where I talk more about the Geminid meteor shower specifically. Moving all the way forward to morning time, we'll come back a day, or we'll move forward again to the midwinter solstice. So there's the sun coming up. It's definitely nice and bright here at 8:20 again, but we should have lost a bit of time even just since the first. So here we go. It's showing a sunrise there of 8:39 and a sunset of 16:25. So it looks like we have at least lost a little bit of time off of the sunset. We'll move through the days here just to make sure. Yeah, it's not making too much of a difference. We're down there at 8:39 as the time of sunrise. We can see the time of sunrise getting earlier and earlier as we move back towards September, but we do want the sunrise to be as late as possible, so coming up there to 8:42, but we also want the sunset to be as early as possible, so we can see the sunset there of around 4:25 and a sunrise of 8:40, so that's giving us a nice short day, the shortest day. Yep, I'll just make sure. Down to 8:39, but still at 4:25. So this is our sunrise and sunset for the shortest day of the year, the 21st. So that brings us all the way through the month. A little bit after the solstice, we do have one more meteor shower, the Ursids. So we can see them radiating back here from Ursa Minor by the looks of it. It just says the Ursids, but it does look like that's up above the Big Dipper in the Little Dipper, so in Ursa Minor rather than Ursa Major. We can see that that's a pretty small meteor shower, but that's coming up really right at the end of the month. So there will be another video talking about that and maybe revisiting the Geminids as well then. For now, I hope that you enjoyed this look forward into the month of December. If you did enjoy this video, then please do like it. If you like this kind of content, then make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel, and you can also read this information on my website, queebeanscontent.ie. So thank you very much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you back here next time.